Did you know there are certain attitudes that might be blocking your blessings and financial prosperity, according to the Bible? Yes, those small daily choices, those thought patterns or behaviors you barely notice, could be delaying what God has already prepared for you. And here's the surprising part. Many of those attitudes aren't even directly related to money. Had you ever imagined that? Most people desperately search for ways to earn more money or achieve financial freedom, but few stop to reflect on the inner barriers keeping them stuck. They want to move forward, yet keep repeating the same mistakes. Does this sound familiar? Maybe you've tried to save, start a business, or invest, but something always seems to get in the way. Let me tell you, it's not about working harder. It's about aligning your life with biblical principles. In this video, we'll uncover 7 attitudes that might be stopping your prosperity and your ability to earn money, according to the Bible. Don't just look for a job, seek transformation. Here, you'll not only learn how to improve your finances God's way, but how to unlock blessings that feel stuck. Before we continue, take a moment. Turn off distractions, close unnecessary tabs, and get ready to receive a message that could truly transform your life. What you'll discover here will not only impact your wallet, it'll also shape your relationship with God and your mindset toward prosperity. If this resonates with you, feel free to comment and share what touches your heart. Attitude number 1, not releasing forgiveness. Forgiveness is powerful, but many still see it as weakness. Unforgiveness is like carrying a backpack full of stones, heavy, limiting, and exhausting. Jesus made it clear in Matthew 6:15, if we want God's forgiveness, we must forgive. Think of Joseph, sold as a slave by his own brothers, cruelly betrayed. And yet Joseph chose forgiveness. He became a powerful example of resilience and prosperity. If he had held on to resentment, he could have blocked the great work God wanted to do through him. Holding on to grudges is like building a house on sand. You may begin, but it'll collapse eventually. Joseph forgave and built his life on the rock. Imagine this, from slave to governor of Egypt. How many doors could you be missing out on because you haven't let go of the past? Think about that while reflecting on your personal and professional relationships. Forgiveness is hard, I know. Maybe someone hurt you deeply and it feels impossible to forgive. But the truth is, forgiveness isn't for them, it's for you. Resentment is a direct obstacle to prosperity. It blocks your spiritual, emotional, and financial growth. As long as you carry that burden, how will you move forward? You want financial freedom with wisdom, but it all begins with a free heart. Let's be honest, how many times have you thought about wealth through the Bible but ignored how prosperity goes far beyond money? Unforgiveness closes the door to the abundance God longs to pour into your life. Have you ever thought of it that way? Imagine if today you chose to open your heart. Maybe it's time to call or message someone. Who do you think God is asking you to forgive? Do it and watch how heaven begins to move. Forgiveness is an act of faith. Attitude 2, lacking a grateful heart. Gratitude is like opening a window in a dark room. It brings light and lets us see the blessings we often overlook. In 1 Thessalonians 5:18, we're told to give thanks in all circumstances. The story of Hannah teaches us this powerfully. She longed for a child, and her pain didn't lead her to despair, but to prayer. When God answered her, Hannah didn't just say thank you. She gave her son Samuel to the service of the Lord. That deep gratitude led to even more blessings, including other children. Sometimes we're so focused on what we lack, we forget what we already have. Have you stopped to thank God for what's already in your hands? Having a roof, food, or even the chance to grow and learn is a sign of God's faithfulness. Gratitude opens doors. It's a spiritual key that unlocks new blessings and connects us to divine provision. Still, it's not always easy to be thankful in hard times. You might wonder, how can I be grateful when I'm in debt or struggling with poverty? But here's the key. Gratitude isn't based on what you have. It's rooted in knowing God is with you through the process. That realization changes everything. It brings peace to your heart. Here's a practical tip. Start each day by writing down 3 things you're thankful for, even small ones, like the air you breathe. With practice, you'll start seeing blessings even in your hardest days. Remember, prosperity isn't just financial, it's emotional, spiritual too. In the Bible, we see that a grateful heart attracts God. Do you remember the one leper who came back to thank Jesus after being healed? He didn't just receive healing, Jesus blessed him even more. That's what happens with us. Gratitude lifts us and prepares us to receive more. But ingratitude does the opposite. It steals our joy and traps us in constant complaining. It's like a dark cloud that holds us back. Today, choose to shift that mindset. Start practicing gratitude. God has great plans for your life, and gratitude is your first step towards seeing them fulfilled. Attitude 3, lack of generosity. Generosity doesn't just bless others, it transforms the one who gives. Proverbs 11:25 says, "A generous soul will prosper." This means giving isn't a loss, it's a divine investment. Think about the widow from Zarephath. She only had a little flour and oil, just enough for one last meal. But when the prophet Elijah asked her to share it, she obeyed, trusting God's provision. The result? She didn't just survive the famine, she had enough for the entire season of lack. 1 Kings 17. Often the lack of generosity comes from fear. We think, if I give, what will I have left? But the Bible shows us, God multiplies what we offer. It's like planting a seed. It looks small, but with time, it becomes a tree that bears fruit. Generosity isn't just about money. It's about sharing time, talents, and resources to bless others. This creates a cycle of abundance that comes back into our lives. Generosity also shifts our mindset. Instead of living in a constant sense of lack, we begin to recognize the abundance God already placed in our hands. Try this. Set aside a small monthly amount to help someone in need. It could be a friend or a stranger. You'll see how even the smallest act brings joy and meaning. The world teaches us to hoard, to feel secure. But in God's kingdom, giving is what opens the gates to true prosperity. Jesus said, "It is more blessed to give than to receive." Acts 20:35. This truth reminds us that when we give, we reflect God's heart and allow His provision to flow freely. When we practice generosity, we don't just bless others, we build deeper relationships. People remember those who reach out in moments of need. Who knows? Maybe your act of generosity is the answer to someone's prayer. In the end, generosity is an act of faith, trusting that God will supply all your needs according to His riches and glory. And speaking of faith, there's another key area that could be limiting your prosperity, your mindset. Attitude 4. A scarcity mentality. Scarcity is like seeing the world through a foggy window. It distorts reality and limits possibility. Many believe they can only have just enough, but the Bible teaches us to think differently. Romans 8:17 reminds us that we are co-heirs with Christ. That means, as children of God, we have access to the riches of His kingdom. Jesus was clear when He said, "I came that they may have life and have it in abundance." John 10:10. An inspiring example is Jabez. His name meant pain, but he refused to let that define him. Instead, he prayed boldly, asking God to bless him and expand his territory, and God answered. 1 Chronicles 4:10. This shows that shifting your mindset begins with knowing who you are, a child of a generous and powerful God. Many stay stuck in negative thinking because they grew up in environments where scarcity was normal. But God calls us to break those chains. Imagine someone gives you a blank check, but out of fear you never use it. That's what happens when we don't live in the fullness of our identity in Christ. Scarcity doesn't just affect your finances, it affects your decisions. People with this mindset avoid taking risks or investing in their future. They're afraid to lose what little they have. But prosperity requires faith and action. What if, instead of saying, "I can't afford it," you start asking, "How can I make it possible?" Adopting an abundance mindset doesn't mean ignoring problems. It means trusting God can provide even in the hardest times. It's a shift that starts in your heart and shows in your actions. When you invest in assets, save wisely, and work with diligence, you're showing trust in God's provision. When you recognize that your true wealth comes from Him, fear disappears and you begin to live with purpose. But what happens when laziness stops you from acting? Attitude 5. Laziness and lack of diligence. Laziness is one of prosperity's biggest enemies. Proverbs 10:4 says it clearly, "Lazy hands make for poverty, but diligent hands bring wealth." Many people dream of abundance but never take the first step. It's time to rise and do something. The Bible teaches that God blesses effort and consistency. Look at the virtuous woman in Proverbs 31. She works with care and provides for her family. Even small daily actions can make a difference. Maybe it's just 30 minutes a day learning something new, like financial wisdom beyond what schools teach. God doesn't expect you to do everything all at once, but He does want you to take the first step. Consistent effort, even if small, brings great results over time. It's like planting a seed that eventually produces an abundant harvest. Laziness doesn't just affect your money, it damages relationships and spiritual growth too. How many times have you delayed something important, thinking there will be time later? Procrastination is a silent thief of opportunity. Every day you don't act, you're missing a chance to move closer to the financial freedom and prosperity God desires for you. Diligence isn't just working hard, it's working wisely. Many people work tirelessly, but without direction, like a ship with no rudder. The Bible calls us to work smart, to plan and prioritize. What are you doing today to build a better future? If you don't know where to begin, ask God for wisdom. He gives generously to those who seek it. James 1:5. Diligent effort also means taking risks. Many are paralyzed by fear of failure. But remember, failure is part of growth. Don't be afraid to invest time, energy, or resources into something new. God walks with you, and He blesses the steps you take in faith. Focused and steady work is like a ladder. Each step takes you closer to your goal. But what happens when we get too comfortable where we are? That's when attitude 6 shows up. Comfort zone. The comfort zone is that cozy place where many people hide, but in the long run it limits their growth. God didn't create you to live in mediocrity. He created you to walk in faith and move forward into the unknown. Abraham is a clear example of this. In Genesis 12:1, God called Abraham to leave his land and family and go to a place He would show him. That single act of obedience, stepping out of his comfort zone, led him to become the father of a great nation and a man abundantly blessed by God. Today, many settle for the safety of a job, thinking it's the only way to survive. But true prosperity comes from thinking outside the box, taking risks, starting something new, seeking fresh opportunities. Like the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad says, just working to pay bills is like running in a hamster wheel. Have you ever wondered if you're caught in that same race? Leaving your comfort zone requires faith, but also planning. It doesn't mean quitting everything overnight. It means learning to invest in assets, gaining new skills, and building long-term wealth. Maybe it's time to start that project you've put off, or to explore ways to make your money work for you. The Bible calls us to be diligent and not fear change. Staying in your comfort zone also limits your mindset. Sometimes, the fear of failure makes us settle for less than God's best. But as children of God, we're called to live in abundance and claim His promises. Why stay where it's safe when God is inviting you to something extraordinary? Remember, Every step into the unknown taken in faith is an opportunity for God to show his power. If God asked Abraham to leave his land, what is he asking you to leave behind? Maybe it's fear, doubt, or the belief that you're not capable. But in order to move forward, you must first believe that God is with you. And speaking of faith, there's one more attitude that could be silently blocking your prosperity: lack of faith and trust in God. Faith is the foundation of every path toward prosperity. Hebrews 11:6 says it clearly: without faith, it's impossible to please God. When we lack trust in him, we become paralyzed by doubt and miss out on opportunities. Think of the woman with the issue of blood in Luke 8:43-48. Despite years of suffering, she had faith that just touching Jesus' cloak would heal her. And she was right. Her faith didn't just heal her, it changed her life completely. When we lack faith, we rely only on our own strength. But let's be honest, our strength has limits. How many times have you felt like you don't have enough to reach your goals? Relying only on yourself brings frustration and blindness to God's unlimited provision. Trust in him, because his resources never run out. He has a perfect plan for your life, one greater than you can imagine. Trusting God doesn't mean life will be easy. There will be trials, just like Job faced. He lost everything, but he never stopped trusting in the Lord. In the end, God restored him with double of what he had before. That's what happens to those who remain faithful. Prosperity doesn't always come immediately, but those who trust God will see him work in ways that surpass all understanding. Sometimes, lack of trust shows up as resistance to change. We cling to what's familiar, afraid to take a step toward the unknown. But trusting God means walking by faith, not by sight. 2 Corinthians 5:7. It's like planting a seed underground. You can't see what's happening, but you trust that in due time it will grow. What seed do you need to plant today? Faith also shows in your actions. Are you living like someone who truly believes in God's promises? If he said he came to give you life in abundance, then why settle for less? Faith is not passive, it's active. It means making bold decisions, knowing that God will guide every step. Remember, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding, Proverbs 3:5. Even when you don't see it, he's working. And now we've uncovered the attitudes that might be blocking your prosperity. But it doesn't end here. The Bible doesn't just ask us to identify our errors. It invites us to transform, to walk in faith, and move toward the promises God has for our lives. Like Joseph, who chose forgiveness and saw how God lifted him from slavery to leadership. You too can make choices today that unlock the blessings God has stored for you. Can you imagine living without the burdens that have been holding you back? Start now. Apply what you've learned. Take time to reflect on these attitudes and ask yourself how you can begin changing them step by step with God's help. For example, if you've been stuck in a scarcity mindset, remember, through Christ you are heir to heaven's riches. He came so you may have life and life in abundance. Claim that promise. Make it yours. And if this message touched your heart, leave a comment below. Your words might inspire someone who needs this truth today. And finally, if you'd like to keep growing in your faith and finances, don't forget to follow Messiah Speaks. Like this video and share it with someone who needs encouragement. May God bless you richly in every area of your life. And may your steps always be guided by wisdom, faith, and the abundance God has promised.